All right, everyone, get this. A heavily guarded, mysterious train rolled into Beijing on Monday, and officials believe that it may have been carrying none other than North Korean dictator Kim Jung Un. A visit to the Chinese capital would mark Kim's first trip beyond North Korea's border since taking power back in 2011. So if these reports are true, why did he make the trip? Why did he make it now? Joining me with analysis, nuclear showdown author Gordon Chang. Gordon, always good to see you. You are the guy to talk to about North Korea and China. So what's your take on this? Did it happen, and why did he do it?
Yeah, I think it certainly happened. And I think the reason why Kim went to Beijing was because Beijing demanded that he go there. You got to remember that Kim was going to make his first foreign trip to South Korea to go south of the military demarcation line in the demilitarized zone to the Peace House, which is in South Korea. And then his second foreign trip was going to be to see President Trump. The Chinese realized they were being marginalized. And so essentially what they said to Kim was, you come to Beijing or else.
What do you think will come of this?
I don't know what's going to happen with the Trump-Kim summit, but I think that it was very good for President Trump to do that because he was cutting out the Chinese. And the Chinese over this century have really been a malign influence. They've been helping the North Korean nuclear weapons effort, as well as their ballistic missile program. And what Trump decided to do was he was not going to put up with that. He was going to talk to Kim Jung Un directly. And you got to remember, Trish, this is occurring at the same time as the trade disputes. Now, the Chinese have heard American presidents threaten trade actions, but they haven't really seen anyone carry through. And President Trump is carrying through, and the Chinese right now are probably pretty bewildered. They got both Kim and Trump giving them a hard time.
Simultaneously, you have John Bolton now as part of the administration as well. And Ambassador Bolton has made very clear, certainly to me in the past, he would like to see the reunification of the North Korean peninsula, and one would have to assume that Kim Jong Un would be on the losing side of that deal. So are the Chinese now being caught off guard or a bit more nervous? How does that affect everything that's going on? Because they may be looking at it and saying, gosh, you know, the U.S. is playing tough now on trade, maybe somehow trying to court Kim Jong Un in a way that we don't understand. And in fact, the U.S. may wind up having a much bigger presence right next door to us than we anticipated, Gordon.
Yeah, you know, John Bolton as National Security Advisor and Mike Pompeo as Secretary of State really round out the war cabinet. And, you know, you look at what Bolton has said about the main problem in the world, it's China and Russia. And so Beijing right now has got to understand that they've got a new sheriff in town and that Bolton is going to push Trump in directions that Trump would go anyway. You know, Trump started out his administration by trying to placate the Chinese, bringing them on board, getting them to help on North Korea. They didn't do that. So, you know, right now you have the consensus.
And he said he was a little disappointed in that he had hoped to get more cooperation from China.
Yes, and we know from the president's tweets that he is not only he was first disappointed, but now angry and frustrated. You have Bolton coming in, Pompeo coming in. It's a new landscape for the Chinese. And right now they're seeing something that they have never faced before.
Meaning?
Well, meaning that there's now an administration that is willing to hold them responsible for really predatory, mercantilist, and dangerous activities around the world. And so, you know, they're seeing that the U.S. is going to impose costs on China and deal with China as well as Moscow in a way that we haven't seen since the end of the Cold War. So I think you have now in Beijing, people are saying, who lost America, as a Washington Post correspondent recently wrote about a week ago.
Well, it's about time. They've been getting away with a whole lot for much too long. Anyway, Gordon Chang, it's good to see you. Appreciate your analysis.